What is going on, lovely people? Welcome to another episode of the Editorial Podcast. I'm Nikki.
And this is Chris coming at you with 41 hours of driving time between us. Nikki, what has been going on with you lately? What's been on your mind?
Oh my gosh. What has been on my mind? Nothing much, just because I've just been stuck at home. I've just been stuck at home, and the only interaction I have is with my family and with this guy that I've been seeing since December. This morning, something exciting happened, though.
Ooh.
My cat, Bubba, as I mentioned, I take him out for walkies, but when I don't have the time or I don't feel like going outside myself, I put him on a harness and I let him kind of outside my backyard. He is on a leash, so he can only go so far or else he'll totally wreck my mom's garden in the back.
It's like a furry tetherball.
Yes. It's kind of funny because he is so small. Munchkin cats don't really grow that. Well, it depends on what they're mixed with, right? So Bubba is a Munchkin mixed with, I think, just your regular domestic short-haired cat because his fur is super short. I can't say super short. It's short. He doesn't shed. Like, I keep hearing people saying, "You're so lucky your cat doesn't shed." He sheds like very minimal, which is really awesome.
Okay.
But his color is like this really beautiful light dark, like mixed with light gray, dark gray, like medium gray. And then he has white.
He's got like natural highlights.
Yeah. And he's got white paws. So he's got 4 white paws.
Mittens.
And he's got like a white patch on his neck. It makes him look like he's wearing a white handkerchief. It's really cute.
Oh my gosh.
So he was outside, and apparently my mom saw it because my mom was out in the living room with the window open, but she quickly ran out and I heard noises and I wondered what happened. And she came back inside. She's like, there was another cat in our backyard. This is the first time it's ever happened. Bubba's been with us for a year now. And this random cat apparently like strolled into our backyard.
Oh my
We have
God.
a fence like in our backyard.
Yeah.
So there's no, like the cat must have jumped from a neighboring house or crawled underneath our fence, because this is the first time it's happened, and was like full on having a fight with my cat. I think.
Oh my gosh.
Like they were hissing at each other. I checked Bubba for any damages. He's good. And my mom said, no, if anything, that cat should be, like, we should be worried about that cat because Bubba was super aggressive.
Oh my gosh.
If he wasn't on a leash, I'm pretty sure Bubba would have jumped the other cat. Yeah, that's what happened this morning.
He's so little too. Like, that's so funny.
He is so feisty. You know how people say like
He's
chihuahuas?
got Napoleon complex.
Yes. I was just going to say, like, you know how people say chihuahuas? Like,
cat is the chihuahua.
tiny dogs are aggressive as fuck. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's because we're closer to hell. Like, as a tiny
Whoa.
person, like, we're closer to hell.
Oh my.
So we just have all of, like, this rage and anger.
I did not see that coming.
As a short girl, I can say that.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, besides that, it was...
Yeah, it's because we're closer.
Besides that, nothing else much has been going on. I've been talking to this guy that I've been seeing since December.
Give me details.
Yeah, well, not much to say. It's been the first time that I've dated someone in 3 years. So I've been single for a split amount of time, just because I was always in a relationship. I went from one relationship to another without a break. I went through a string of just bad relationships.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I can't, like, the first one that I had a very serious relationship with, he cheated on me like multiple times. And people ask me why I have commitment issues. That is the reason. God. I think that's the reason why, but who knows? That's in the past. But the last boyfriend that I had 3 years ago, it's not that he's not a bad person. If anything, he was probably the best guy that I've ever been with, and we were in a long-term relationship about almost 3 years, minus like the little including the little break in between that we had. He probably was the one that treated me the best, I think, and he had all the right intentions, but I think it was my fault. I just fell out of love. I just realized that I didn't love myself to begin with. And I was not okay with who I was, what I looked like, how other people perceived me. And I just needed
Yeah.
to grow. I just needed to build self-love. And so I took the time to do so. And when I did that, it made me realize all the things that I wanted and all the things that I didn't want. And during that time, actually, with Chris, you remember, I told everybody that I was just going to be a nun. Like, I was just going to shave my head and be actually a monk. I'm going to go up to the temple and you'll never see me again. Like, fuck it, right? I'm just going to donate all my money.
That's pretty much what I was like, this gal and I are going to be good friends.
Yes, a nun and a monk. That's what it is.
Yes, that's exactly it. Just a monastery.
Yeah, that's probably why we got along so well. But that's what I thought for the past, couple of years while being single. And like, don't get me wrong, I was single, but I continued to meet new people because, again, I get bored so easily.
Yeah.
I would continually meet new people, go out for dinners, go out for like dates, but I never consistently dated anybody until now. So I met him in December. We met through a app that I got introduced to by my friend in San Francisco. It's called Hinge.
Technology.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called Hinge, and there's less of the like DTF and there's more of the, hey, let's have like intellectual conversations. Let's talk about stuff, which is really nice, right?
That is nice.
But there are times where you just kind of want to hop on Tinder and just like, I'm thirsty now. Like, I want the D.
Yikes.
There were times.
Okay.
There were times like that. And I'm sure other girls can relate. There's times where you just don't want to feel, I don't think that it's a feeling of feeling lonely. It's more so like, we are humans. We have needs, right? And sometimes we need to feel that physical, like, closeness. I can't even say connection because I don't even know most of these people's names. The ones that don't matter. Anywho, so moving on.
The ones that don't matter.
Yeah, so I've been seeing this guy since December. We met through Hinge, and I'm still seeing him now. May, holy crap, it's May now. It is. So it's been a while, but I was thinking about how psycho I am and how this guy has not disappeared on me yet.
Hardly. I don't think you're psycho. I think you just know what you want, and you're very like determined.
And that scares guys away. A lot of the times it does.
Okay. I'm just learning so much. This is insane because I feel like I'm very much that same way. I'm very determined and I'm very ambitious. And I'm like, this is what I want. And I don't need anything else like I put blinders on. This is it.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'm like that too when I am focused on just wanting one thing from a particular person.
Yes.
Back to the story. I'm just glad that he hasn't disappeared on me yet because he's a really nice guy, I've been telling people about him, which is different because I usually don't tell people about the guys that I meet because they're insignificant, right? So I've been telling my friends about this guy, and I was just thinking how he's been putting up with my craziness. Like, get this, on the third date, I think it was, on the third or fourth date, we went out, he took me out for dinner. It was, what is that called? We have this food festival like every January, February. Oh, I can't remember. But anyways, there's a food festival going on, and we went to this restaurant called the Flying Pig, which I really liked. Okay. And then during the dinner, I asked him 36 questions.
Oh my God, Nikki.
No, Chris, understand this. I love documentaries, and I love this particular show on Netflix called Explained.
Okay.
And in one of the episodes, they talked about like a New York Times Magazine article that was basically 36 questions. It's called the 36 questions that lead to love.
Okay.
And I don't know why it came up in my head, but during the dinner, I was like, hey, I'm just going to ask you like some questions. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, I'll answer them too if you want to know my answer. But can I ask you a bunch of questions like a psychopath? And he agreed.
God bless him.
He agreed to let, I know, God bless him. And he agreed. And so I asked him a bunch of these questions, and we'll put the link up on our social media platforms. But basically, There's 36 of them, and he answered all of them. And we're still seeing each other. So I don't know if it has anything to do with it. I don't know if it's actually leading to love.
So the article did what it was supposed to do then. So it's leading to love is basically it.
It gave me an insight to how he is as a person. And it was really nice. But then the problem is, again, I have like the worst memory. I don't remember a lot of the answers that he had to these questions, but let me share some of these questions with you guys, and both me and Chris will answer these and see. And you know what, audience, please chime in, let us know what you think and what your answer would be to these questions as well. We're just going to pick a couple that actually stood out to us, but one of them is, what do you value most in a friendship?
Oh man, I have a lot of like deep friendships. Like those people are my family, like my chosen family. And I think it's just because like we get each other and our dumb humors and our dumb timings. Like it's all those things sort of cohesively where we just sort of understand each other innately. And I don't want to say it happened overnight, but it happened quite quickly. Like a couple of the gals that I keep near and dear to me, like we met at work and we were just in the trenches together. And I really value how much we sort of understand each other on sort of like not just an emotional plane, but sort of like within our circumstances, like being in the trenches together during, you know, a terrible workplace, you bond sort of with that like foxhole syndrome. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like all of those friends that I met sort of in that part of my life, like I keep them very near and dear to me because we very much have those shared experiences. I think that's what I value most is like that cohesive shared experience. Yeah. Right. You get me innately.
That's how you bond. I don't know any other way that you would, other than just sharing
trauma
time.
In the workplace.
Trauma. Yes. Trauma. For me, I value trust. I think for a relationship with a significant other and with just friends, I think it's trust and respect. I don't see how that should be separated with just friendship and relationships. I think for somebody to be your partner, they have to go through that phase of being your friend so that you trust them to fall in love with them, right? For the value, I think value can be defined differently for everybody, but that's what I value. Yeah. And also, if you make time for me, I will always make time for you. If I see you as my ride or die bitch, I will take a bullet for you, right?
Yes.
And not necessarily is it that if I take a bullet for you that I expect you to do the same for me.
Yeah.
But I just want to know, I want to have the comforting thought to know that you would appreciate and you would know that I would take that bullet for you. Right?
Yeah.
And that you want to genuinely do it for me, not just because I would do it for you. That you would just like reciprocate just because of that. No, but you would actually take the bullet for me because you genuinely feel like I'm worth it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
Sweet.
Yeah. Like I don't know why you wouldn't for somebody that you care for.
Exactly. Like if that person is super important to you, you would do anything to sort of preserve that, right? It's one of those things. I have a friend right now. It's like we bonded very quickly, very deeply. And I would do just about anything for that weirdo. He quickly became so important to me. And I'm like, this is something I'm willing to preserve as long as possible. Because it feels good. It's like you get that dopamine rush when someone does something nice for you and you do something nice for someone, right? It's like that altruistic little like uptick in your mood. You're like, yeah, I could get used to this. This is great. Let's have this all the time. Yeah,
totally.
For the selfish reason as well.
Maybe. Another question that stood out to me was, what is your most terrible memory? What a heavy set question that is.
Yikes. Yeah. Oh, man. I'll let you go first with this one.
Terrible memory. And why I liked this question was because it kind of helps me gauge how you are as a person. If you tell me that your most terrible memory was when your dog ate your Beats headphones or something, I will probably ask for the check and leave.
It's like your gauge of depth. How deep is the connection going to be with this person? How superficial is this going to be?
Or just how deep are you as a person in general?
Very fair.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's a heavy question. Sorry, you did this on the third date?
I think it was the third or fourth date.
Oh my
My
God,
memory's so
Nikki.
bad.
Jesus
Timeline to me
Christ.
doesn't really match up in my head. But I asked this guy pretty early on all these questions.
Yes, like tell me your deepest childhood traumas on like the third date.
Yeah. It helps me get to know you. And he consented to me asking the questions. So
My goodness, he is a brave soul because like I don't even know how I would answer this question. Oh my gosh,
he's
my
a
most
brave
terrible
soul
memory.
to even meet with me to begin with.
Okay, let's relax. You're great.
Thank you.
He yeah,
No, I'm
he
psycho. See, here's a no, Chris. Like you have to understand that there is a difference between like, okay, wait, let me try to put this in like the most basic terms possible.
uh-huh.
Every girl is psycho. Let me just put it right
Yes,
out
that's
there.
fair.
Every girl is crazy, okay? The difference is that one, the level of crazy, the amount of crazy. The second is whether or not they consciously know that they're crazy.
Okay, like the self-awareness and then the
Exactly,
frequency.
the self-awareness aspect. So I know that I'm crazy. I think
Yes.
the problem is that a lot of women don't think that they're crazy, and when they get questioned or somebody confronts them and tells them that they're crazy, they retaliate like a
Okay.
Karen, right? So right? You know what I mean? But no, I know that I'm crazy. And my
Yes.
level of crazy is pretty up there, but I know that I am. So I'm able to control it. I can hone it in, I can focus
You
it,
can own it.
right?
You
And
can
direct and
yes.
redirect it if necessary.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Like there's moments where I let my crazy out
Uh-huh.
intentionally. Okay. There's never been a moment where I slip up my crazy.
Okay.
This is also like keep in mind you don't know this, but nobody actually really knows this until now. I'm putting it on the podcast. A month ago, we went out for bubble tea.
Uh-huh.
Some people call it boba. No, guys, it's bubble tea. Okay, so we went out for bubble tea, and he was telling me about how he was looking at
Uh-huh.
apartments, and he was looking at all these nice places in Burnaby, and I was like, oh, and I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm gonna say something crazy right now, and he said, okay. So I gave him a warning,
The
right?
heads up.
I did. And I said, I'll go halfies on it with you. Keep in mind
This
this
is
is
where my headspace is right now.
yeah, I said this like last month or the month before that. And we met end of
Oh,
December.
really?
And I said, yeah, I'll go halfies on an apartment with you. That was my crazy
Oh my
thought.
God.
And I looked at him, I'm like, are you gonna say something? I'm like, was that too crazy? He said, no, I actually think that's kind of cute. And then I looked at him and I'm like, wow. And I thought I was the crazy
Oh my
one.
gosh.
But long story short, this guy puts up with me and all my crazy, right? And I just let it out. Because here's the thing, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I don't care if you don't like. If this guy turns to me tomorrow and says, Nikki, hey, actually, I'm done with you. I'll be like, oh, okay. Yeah, thanks for your time. Great knowing you, right? And like, good luck with everything.
Thanks for your time.
Right. And I'm
My
not going to be sad. Well,
goodness.
I'll be sad about it for like a little bit. There's always a reason. If this guy moves on, he's not the one for me. And
Yes.
it's not like I was looking for love.
Yeah.
It's not like I was looking to be in a relationship. It just so happened that this guy stuck around for so
Yeah.
long because I actually genuinely enjoy his company. And he's super funny. He's
What a
everything.
sweetheart.
I know. He's like everything that my mom wanted for me in a husband.
Oh my God. Everything that you're.
Like, no, I'm just gonna put it out there. This guy, and I've said this to so many people, you just won't believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not that tall, Chris.
We're tiny people. We're about the same height.
I'm like 5'1.5", but I tell people I'm 5'5" because I'm always in heels.
Yeah, I do the same thing. It just depends on the shoes that I'm wearing, but I'm about, yeah. My license says that I'm 152 centimeters, so we're going to go with that.
See, my license says I'm 155.
What?
I got 3 centimeters on you, bitch.
Listen, if I have my hair up in a ponytail, that's like an extra 3 centimeters, so watch yourself.
If you got it as high as like the Ariana Grande ponytail, you're
I mean,
gonna get a full foot above me.
I could probably do that with enough hairspray and some teasing. I could make that happen.
Right. The picture on your driver's license would look so messed up.
Just like a beehive with
Oh
like
my
a
god, it's just a mohawk, just straight up.
Yes. I'm gonna do that next time I have to get my picture taken. It's gonna be great.
But as I was talking about height, because this guy's the perfect height for me. I'm not that tall, right? I'm 5'1" and a
Yes.
half. He's 5'11". He's Chinese, which is perfect because
Look at
my
that.
parents, right? So yeah, I'm Chinese. My parents were like always, or my mom specifically was always like, you got to get a Chinese boy. You got to get one that speaks Cantonese, okay? Because my parents, we speak Cantonese. And she said, so needs to be taller than you. I'm like, that's not a fucking problem because everybody's taller
Everybody's
than me.
taller than us. Yeah.
Exactly. But she's like, oh no, but when you have children, we want to make sure they're tall and not short, right? Because your father's pretty tall. And that's true. My dad's like 5'11".
It's like already looking at like the heritage. Like,
that's what Asian moms do. That's what Asian moms do.
Yeah, I can't say anything. South Asian moms do the same thing.
Right? So needs to be taller than you. Be perfect if they speak Cantonese. They can't be the only child. I'm like, why is that? Because then they'll be super spoiled. That also means that they know like how to share, right? If they had siblings. The next thing would be that they respect elders. Naturally. It just makes sense. Another thing is that their parents can't be divorced. They have to be together.
Okay, yeah. Because they're
so
not
my
up.
mom's thought process was that they won't be wanting to fill a void. Like if they didn't have a mother growing up, they're going to only want to have, they're going to want to have a wife that does all the things that a mother would do. Yeah. My mom didn't even fucking go to high school. Like back in China, we were poor as fuck. And there's no such thing as education. So my mom's a fucking genius.
It's the same thing in India. Oh my gosh.
So, and then a profession that Asian parents actually acknowledge. So doctor, lawyer, dentist, surgeon, whatever, right?
Yes. The usual suspects.
So he's a pharmacist. So he passes.
Oh my goodness. He's a pharmacist. He's a pseudo doctor.
What are you talking? What? No. He's my drug dealer.
Oh my god, stop. That's so much worse.
Oh, he's the cutest.
Oh my god. What would your parents do if he was like, guys, I've decided to follow my heart and I'm not going to be a pharmacist anymore. I'm going to be like a jazz singer. I've always had a love of jazz and I'm going to be a jazz singer.
I have never heard him sing, so I don't really know if he's got the talent. But you know what? I would be fine with it. I don't care. But my parents, I don't know. I don't know how they would react.
They tell all of your aunts and uncles that you're like dating a jazz singer.
That would be kind of funny. They probably just won't say anything. They'll probably just be like, oh yeah, I know she's single.
Or like, oh yeah, he used to be a pharmacist.
Or maybe. I don't know. So this guy literally checks off all my mom's boxes for sure.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love that.
Original checklist that she had. And then I was single for 3 years. But when I got Bubba, because he was a kitten, he was so damn cute. All these guys would just want to come over, like my guy friends, and play with my cat, right? My actual cat. And then...
Oh my God, Nikki.
And so my mom would get her hopes up. And she's like, is that your new boyfriend? I'm like, no, these are just friends, right? Because I've been single for so long. My mom has just been like, Nikki, I don't care anymore. They don't have to be Chinese. They don't have to be a doctor, right? They can have
just like slowly
I slowly broke my mom until the day that she literally came up to me and she said, Nikki, just bring a man home. Okay? Just don't bring a woman. Bring a man home. And I'm like, whoa. So I think if the guy that I'm seeing now, if he decides to be a jazz singer out of the blue, I think my mom would be okay with it. Because at this point, she just needs a male. She just doesn't need her daughter to be gay.
Standards have been so low.
It's hilarious. I told her straight up I was bi. And
oh my gosh.
She's like, that's okay. Just marry a man, though.
There's a chance.
I'm like, what if he's white? What if I bring home a white boy? And she's like, my English is not good enough for that. So I
Oh my god.
as long as he eats my cooking, guys, I broke my mom. Right? So the fact that now I'm seeing this Chinese pharmacist who's 5'11" and super funny,
There's hope.
my mom, there's like a twinkle in her eye every time, and she's like, "Oh, do you want to like bring some food over to his place for him? Do you want to like feed him?" I'm like,
Oh my
"No, mom,
gosh.
it's okay."
She's trying to like
She
hook
is.
him. Like hook
Like,
him.
here's a
Like that's
taste of
just
my
it.
cooking. If you marry my daughter, I can all the
You can get
time.
this
Yeah.
all the time.
But I'm sure every mom,
Let me
oh,
sweeten the deal. Like my daughter's great, but look
yeah,
at this though.
I'm just the bait. I'm just the bait to her cooking, is what it. That's not. This is just Asian parents on another level. I'm sure your parents are the
Yeah.
same, right?
It's really funny. I feel like my parents have slowly given up, but they're like, yeah, she's just going to be like this agoraphobic recluse for the rest of her life. I didn't go out. I didn't party. I didn't do any of that stuff. I never brought anybody home. It didn't make any sense. It didn't have to happen. So I could just like study and like focus, and that was fine. But now that like I've gotten my degree, I've like got a job where it's, decent paying, I can support myself. It's every once in a while I get a throwaway comment about children. I'll get a throwaway comment about like how much my parents love babies and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm terrified of children. Children terrify me. That's never going to happen. Like, I have contemplated getting my tubes tied just for the sake of just proving that I don't want to have children. Like, children scare me
Whoa.
and terrify me. So if that's what they're hoping to get out of a relationship is like grandchildren, like it's not going to happen. They can get various animals in which I've adopted. I will put in like onesies and be like, here you go. This is your grandchild right here.
I'm so curious as to how your parents think you can. Okay, so here's the question. Like, how do
Yeah.
your parents expect you to procreate children when they expect you to be a virgin up until marriage? And it's like,
I think they just expected me to get married at this point. That was like a thing because all of the women in my family, married quite young, popped out some kids, like live out in the suburbs of Toronto in their houses and have their suburb jobs and live their best lives. But for me, I just want to be like a weird artist. Can I just be like a super cool, like weird artist? Can I be the weird auntie that like gives your kids too much candy when I see them like once every 5 years at family reunions? Like, aunties and uncles will talk about me like, oh my God, she's the one that could never settle down. I'm like, yeah, traveling everywhere.
hashtag resistance.
Yes, like that's what I want. Like, I just want to like live my best life, travel to Barcelona, like see Gaudi buildings, drink really great coffee, write an award-winning TV show, and call it a day. That's my plan. Like, it does not involve a partner. It doesn't involve children. I feel like my parents have started to understand that this is what they're going to get from me. This is it. I'm so sorry. They're starting to make their peace with it. Just slowly but surely.
That's okay. If they've made their peace with it, that's great. Because my dad refused to give up. My mom is the sit back and she'll have her thoughts and she'll
Yeah.
plant a bomb here and there. But my dad actively goes and seeks a husband for me.
He's like a marriage broker.
He keeps a picture of me in his phone. Like, he keeps a folder. Okay, this is how.
That's so funny.
Oh, you don't even know. He keeps a folder of my pictures on his phone. And whenever he goes, because his business is in Asia, he works there most of the time. He's only back in Vancouver twice a year. So when he's over there, and then whenever he talks to like new companies, new investors, new business partners, whatever, it'll always come up in the conversation. Oh, do you have a son?
Oh my gosh.
Is your son single? Oh, here's a picture of my daughter.
Stop pimping me out.
Father, I'm not like a stock that you can just sell for business relations. This is the fucking 21st century, okay?
He's trying to be like 21st century Caesar and Cleopatra. Like, he's trying to like merge empires. That's what's happening here.
That's fucked up.
I'm so
sorry.
sorry.
That's not how it goes. And his reasoning behind it is just the definition of Asian parents. He's like, well, would you rather sit in the back of a BMW not happy but married, or would you rather be happy riding a bicycle? Saying that like I need to find a husband that can provide.
That's insane. Yeah, that's like a thing that like Asian parents do though. South Asian parents do the same thing. They're like, wouldn't you rather be well off than happy? Because we're well off and we're happy to a point. You grow to be happy. I'm like, no, I don't want to grow to be happy. I want to be happy right out. What is happening?
Did your parents marry for love or were they arranged marriage?
It's really funny because like we don't talk about it. It's never been brought up in the house. So like I just stopped asking.
Oh.
I was like, how'd y'all like meet? And they're like, it's fine. It's like, that's not an answer, but okay.
We are moving on from this subject. No more questions.
Pretty much. It's like a terrible like segue. It's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, okay, cool, great, dope. Glad that we cleared that up. Amazing. I'm just going to go back and drink a cup of coffee now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's like this mystery. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
I should always have the rebuttal that my parents married for love.
That's so awesome.
My dad chased my mom to Canada. My dad had a really good business in Hong Kong, and my mom decided to immigrate here with her older sister and my grandparents. And my dad's like, okay, I guess if I want to marry you, I have to come to Canada and give up everything. So my dad came to Canada with $10,000 and without like nothing. He liquidated his factory.
Oh my gosh.
Like he had a jewelry making business that he gave to his brother, and he liquidated all of his other assets, and he brought $10,000 over. My mom found a job, but it was my mom they didn't speak English, right? So my mom's like, oh, I don't feel comfortable taking the bus. It'd be great if we had a car. And my mom didn't want a used car because she's like, what if the car breaks down in the middle of the road? I don't speak any English. So my dad's like, okay, let me get you a new car. So my dad goes to the dealership and buys a brand new 1991 Ford Tempo that costed $9,999 after with taxes. And so he was left with nothing. And he bought my mom a new car. And so my mom was able to work. And at that time, they lived in Chinatown. And that's how it started, right? So I should always say, but I don't want to.
Your parents had like an immigrant Nicholas Sparks story. That's so sweet. Like the cockles of my heart are warmed. That's a sweet story.
It's pretty sweet. And I want to bring it up because I'm like, well, you married dad and dad had nothing, right? Like, why can't I marry a starving artist? I don't understand.
Exactly. Why can't I marry a former
pharmacist, now jazz singer? I don't know. I should bring that up, but I never do. I don't want to upset them. But their thought is probably, I didn't have things, and I want you to have everything that I wasn't able to have. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, that's usually the thought of first generation Canadian parents is like, no, we suffered, so you didn't have to. So you don't get to suffer now. We've made everything super easy for you. You've had everything golden up until this point. Why do you want to suffer now?
Exactly.
But it's like, I want to suffer a little bit.
We strayed very far away from the questions that we wanted to talk about. I don't even know how it got there.
It's funny because like the next question we were going to talk about was like, how do you feel about your relationship with your mom?
Right. Well, that is another. I did a lot of talking. I'm done answering. You can answer this question, Chris.
Oh man. Let's pass.
What?
No, my mom's great. She's learning how to be understanding, and she's learning sort of how to communicate. It's been a really long, tough haul for us. She never really understood why I did the things that I did, why I studied the things that I did, sort of how I spent my time, the people I hung out with for a really long time. But I think she's sort of understanding now that I'm approaching 30, that this is sort of the bed I've made for myself, and I'm sleeping pretty comfortably in it. So it's taken a really long, winding path to get to where we are, but we're slowly getting to stable ground, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is like very unheard of for like South Asian descent women. A lot of women have really strained relationships with their moms. I'm considering myself lucky amongst a lot of my South Asian friends. So I'm like, you know what? I think I'm winning on this one.
Nice.
I'm winning slowly but surely.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question was, or it wasn't even really a question, it was just a statement. It was, tell your partner what you like about them. Be very honest this time, saying things that you might not say to someone that you've just met.
I feel like this is something that happens to me all the time. I'm very blunt when I'm meeting someone. If I'm in a situation with them, a lot of the times it's like I'm meeting them for the first time. And a lot of the times it's like the first thing I'll try to do is establish how you're going to fit into my network. Because the business brain in me is like, well, how am I going to further advance myself by meeting you in a very like selfish way?
You need to outweigh the benefits.
Yes. I'm like, how much time am I going to like dedicate to this? And like, what's like a defining feature about you that separates you from like the rest of my network? So I'll use the latest person that I introduced into like my tight-knit circle. I thought he was very ridiculous in the get-go, and I think like he saw that in me right from the get-go. I was like, no, you're far too, like, you show up eating like oatmeal on our first day, overnight oats, like you're talking about how you volunteer with sick kids. I was like, oh my God, this guy thinks he's like better than everyone. This guy thinks he's a saint.
Oprah.
Oh my God. He's like, oh my God, I'm like a vegetarian. I'm like, oh my God, this guy, I can't. I don't even know what to do with him. This guy's terrible. But within, I think, like 2 weeks.
He sounds like an angel.
I know. And that's why I was like, I can't. Like this, now I look like a terrible person and I'm a pretty great person. I was like, if you're outweighing me, I don't want to deal with this. But within the, like, like a terrible human being, the Torontonian in me is showing.
Maybe just a little.
Just a little bit. Within like 2 weeks, I like remember clearly telling him, I was like, you're pretty cool. You're easy to talk to. You got like a really interesting way about you. You're very like unshielded about the dumb things that come through your mind. You're very open about them and you're very blunt. I respect those things about you. I suppose that I have room for you in my circle of friends. And now we're inseparable. And this is where we are now.
And you told him this?
Yeah. Many times to his face. I still very much do it. I'm like, hey, you're not super terrible. Do you know that?
I feel like you give the worst compliments.
He tells me this consistently. If I haven't seen him for a while, I'm like, so I like miss your dumb face. And he's like, this is as affectionate as you've ever been. I'm like, yeah, that's as affectionate as I'll ever be. So get used to it.
If you want some heartwarming, loving words, don't go to Chris. Noted.
Don't go to me. Don't do it. Like, I'll write it in a very sentimental, heartfelt letter to you. And then I'll be like, please don't read it near me and don't look me in the eye.
Read it and then burn it.
For like a week afterwards. Yeah, literally no one can know that I have a soft underbelly underneath all of like my
exterior.
Prickly, thorns.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly. So in terms of like saying something that I like about someone, I'll be like, yeah, here are the very logical things that I appreciate about you day to day.
I think for me, I can't remember exactly what I said to him, but I think I just told him that I liked his company, or I think that's something that I would say. Like, I enjoy your company enough that I want to see you more.
Yeah.
I realized one of the traits one of the things I had a hard time coping with was the feeling of being vulnerable, because I've been hurt before, and who hasn't really? Yeah. But the feeling of wanting to be vulnerable with somebody is a huge step for me.
Insane. I still don't know how to do it, and I'm super thorny about it. And that's why I write. I'm not on stage ever, because I don't like being in a position where I have to feel things and let myself feel things.
You feel exposed, right? Like,
yeah. I don't want my underbelly being shown.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Last question that we thought was really interesting was, what, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? And this ties in well because I really like humor, right? If you're a funny guy, I like that. But there are some touchy subjects that you shouldn't be funny about.
Yeah, I think especially I hung out in the comedy community very heavily for a very long time. So it was always interesting hearing all those different voices from different people with different experiences come at you. And it's, for me personally, if it's not your own experience, like I don't want to hear it, because then it's not genuine. You don't personally have that connection. You don't technically have a right to say anything about it
or joke about it,
especially joke about it. So for me personally, I don't want to hear anything that's not genuine. I don't want to hear anything that you don't have your own experience, your own thoughts about. And I still see a lot of that in conversations with some of those people. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel sometimes. I've gotten very close and very sort of tied to my morals about comedy in just conversational terms. Yeah.
It must be different being in the comedy scene and having people who try to make, like, they ride that line of almost being offensive because it would create kind of controversy and have people talk about it.
Yeah. And I'm like, if you're not Anthony Jeselnik, you don't get away with it. Like, he's paid because that's his shtick. If you're not up to that level and you don't like, you're not selling out stadiums and whatnot, like, there's no place for that. And even if you are selling out stadiums, I'm probably not going to watch your show.
Right.
Yeah.
Cold.
I feel like that's like the one name I throw out so often. I'm like, Anthony Jeselnik and I have beef for that.
I don't even know who that is.
You can watch his specials on YouTube, or not on YouTube, on Netflix.
If it hasn't come up, I watch a lot of stand-up comedy. And I'm a psychopath in the sense that I will watch funny things and not laugh.
I do the same thing.
I like to watch stand-up comedy just to watch for the content. And I think it's hilarious. Like, I'll think it's super funny. I'll be laughing on the inside, but it doesn't make that connection that I'm not actually laughing out loud. And my sister, she hates watching movies with me or anything funny because I will not laugh. If something funny will come on, she'll be laughing. She'll look at me and I'm
you're
not
just
laughing.
Like dead-faced.
Yeah. And she's like, was that not funny? Or is there something wrong with me? Like, you know? I'm like, no, I think it was super funny. It was super hilarious. And she's like, why didn't you fucking laugh? She's like, this is a tell sign that you're a serial killer. I'm like, what the fuck? Or no, she said psychopath.
Your sister and I feel like we could be good friends because, like, I don't, as much as I spend a lot of time writing comedy, I don't watch a lot of it simply because I'm watching serial killer or like cult documentaries because, like, I could talk about cults all day.
Oh, you guys would get along so well because she falls asleep to this girl who does mukbang videos.
That's amazing.
They'll do eating, like they'll just eat on YouTube, but she talks about true crime, mystery murders and stuff. She falls asleep to that.
Why did I not think of this? That could have been my thing. I could have just been like sitting eating pasta and talking about cults all day.
You can still do that.
You know what? That's my next side hustle.
Tune in for the next episode of Chris's pasta eating cult talking.
Cults and caviar.
Oh.
With Chris. Ooh, baby.
Oh, we just did something. You just did something.
Cults and caviar.
Ooh.
Yes. I like that.
I like that too. That's chez fancy. Right.
It's très fashion.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be great.
For sure.
For sure.
I just wanted to know, because I don't think, Chris, we never really talked about like relationships much, because then given that we've only literally met in person twice.
Yes.
But well, how would you describe your ideal partner, or what is your definition of an ideal partner, since I already went over my mom's checklist for an ideal partner for me?
That's so funny. I don't know. I feel like they've got to be super scrawny so I could like take them in a fight in case the zombie apocalypse happens.
The fuck?
I've got to be able to like talk to them for long periods of time in case the zombie apocalypse happens and we're trapped in like a cellar or something together for a really long time.
Again, the fuck?
Listen, I'm thinking like long term here. In case of the zombie apocalypse, like I at least have to be able to sacrifice them in order to survive, or at least like be entertained the entire time.
Why can't you guys work together?
Because I need to come out on top, because I'm a tiny woman and I know that I might not survive because I'm small and I can't really run too far with my short legs. So I need to make sure that I can get to the end.
Ugh. As like such a morbid thought.
Listen, I got to think about this long term, all right? If it's going to happen, I need to make sure that I'm prepared in every situation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I really feel like Ben Schwartz is a really good option. Super tall, super lanky.
Mm-hmm.
He's in physically good shape. He plays basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He's super funny. He's an improviser. He's a writer. I'm like, yeah, you know what? We could make this happen. And in case of the zombie apocalypse, I would still come out on top.
Okay. Noted. Ben Schwartz, if you're listening,
Yeah.
Chris is interested.
Jesus. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Okay, on that note, well, we do have time for, I think, one question from our lovely folks who listen. Thank you all for submitting your questions. Much appreciated. We love you all very much, and we love hearing from you.
Yes, love you.
You can always reach out to us via our email, which is edit2realpodcast, number 2 realpodcast@gmail.com, or across Twitter, Instagram. Holla at us. We got your back. Today, we have a question. I personally, I would love to hear Nikki's take on this. How do you deal with one-sided friendships? So you just give and give and give and give.
Ooh.
And you get nothing in return.
Oh, what a touchy question.
That is a touchy question.
That is a touchy question. I've had firsthand experience with one-sided friends. Here's the thing, though. Okay, when you describe it as a one-sided friendship, you can't be wrong. Let me just put it there. You can't be wrong if you feel like it's a one-sided friendship, because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have those feelings. So the friend that you feel this one-sided friendship with, they must be lacking in something for you to feel this way. Yeah. Something in the friendship is not sufficient.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad. Don't feel the guilt that you think, oh, I feel like this is a one-sided friendship, but they don't, because you can't be wrong. You feel what you feel, and what defines you as a person is your actions and what you do, like the next step that you take. So one-sided friendship, I've had this experience before where I felt like I gave a lot. I felt like I prioritized this friend a lot, and they didn't. And it's disheartening. It's really sad, because a friend is somebody that should be as close to you as family would be. And it's somebody that you care for deeply. You've made the investment into building this thing together. It's a foundation piece. Like it's a totem pole in your life, right? They hold you up to a certain level. And I can see that how sometimes if you thought about, the consequence of dropping them out of your life, you feel like you'd fall from the sky, because they were always there to hold you, or so you thought they would. And it's so sad, because you will cry over it. And I honestly cried about this probably more than when I broke up with boyfriends, because it was
it's rough.
It is rough,
because like that person knows so much about you. It's like you've made they're like an investment, you know what I mean? You've put all that money into this one stock, and now the stock is like falling, and you're losing everything that you've invested into it.
Oh no, they're a part of you for all eternity, depending on how long the friendship is. Or like, you can have a really strong friendship bond if you've met the person for a couple months. But like, imagine friends that's been with you for years
and years and years.
And years. They've become so integrated into your life that you can't imagine. You couldn't have imagined what your life would have been like without them. They're such a significant part that if your life was a movie reel and you cut out all the parts with them in it, you would lose so much time.
You go from an A to a C story. It's it's a hard. I mean, I've had to sort of withdraw my funds from a couple friendships before, and it's hard to do, but it is something that you have to do for your own mental health sometimes, because if it's taking a strain on you and it's getting to the point where you're giving all that you can give and this person's still not appreciative of everything that you're doing, I don't think it's a good productive use of your energy. So I think it's really important to make sure that you take care of you, because you can't provide that for anybody else in your life, your family, your siblings, anything like that, if you're empty and depleted from one person.
Oh, yeah,
So it's like you got to take care of yourself at the end of the day. And that, I
for
mean, it's
sure.
rough and it's a hard thing to have to sort of come to grips with, but it is something that I think has to be done. You got to cut the fat sometimes, baby girl. Just got to do it.
Also, I want to add that if you had the concept of self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's gonna suck balls for sure. It's gonna sting like hell. But if you understand your self-worth, if you know what your time is worth, and if you have enough love for yourself, you would never hesitate. You wouldn't think twice about giving up this person, because you know in the long run they're not going to change. We're in
Yeah.
our late 20s now, depending on the person's age of whoever asked us this question. You also have to remember that some people, they stay for the entirety of your book, of your life's journey. But some friends,
Ooh, good metaphor.
some friends are only here for some chapters, and that's it. They get killed off. But right,
Ooh.
but these people come and go, and you can't be super sad about every person that comes and leaves your life, because you're going to feel so empty and so sad at the end. But if you just think about and you look around for all the other people that see you as a priority as much as you see them as a priority, you're going to feel so much better. And I describe it as sometimes these people are leeches, and they come onto you and they take all your time, they take your compassion, they take your love, and they give you minimal in return, right? And all of
Yeah.
this builds up in you until you snap and you're like, oh, fuck, I didn't notice that this is how I was treated the entire time. You're blindsided because of how you were treating them, but they just weren't reciprocating. Not necessarily am I saying that all friendships have to have equal amounts of shared love, but it's always, you should appreciate and take the time to tell them, hey, look, I miss you, I love you, and you're my friend, and if you ever need me, I'm here for you. But those that don't even take the time to do that, do you really need them in your life? Right? And if you're,
Yeah.
depending on how old you are, if you're in high school or in university or whatever, you just look back of all your friends that you had. Not everybody that you were friends with in high school are going to be your friends in university or going to be your friends in adulthood. You lose
Yeah.
some on the way, right? Oh, here's another thing that I think I just learned the definition of, or the distinction, is that some people are friends, some people are acquaintances. You have to
Yes.
make that distinction, because you can't give every single person in your life the same amount of attention and the same amount of time and priority, because you're going to be so drained.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you have to figure out within yourself. And I mean, like, I hate sounding like a Tumblr post or whatever, but people come into your lives for 1,000 different reasons, and sometimes you just got to figure it out. Sometimes they're there for a little bit to teach you a lesson, and sometimes they're there for the long haul, and you just got to sort of sort it out in that moment. What are you gaining from this emotionally, mentally? And is it worth the emotional and mental strain? Because you got to take care of yourself. And that's, I think that's, we've come to a conclusion then. Yeah.
Hopefully we answered your question.
Yes.
Hopefully that gives you a little bit more to think about, and whatever you decide to do with this friend that you feel this one-sided friendship with. Thank you for asking that question. If any of you have any questions that you would like to ask us, or any topics that you would like for us to talk about, please feel free to hit us up on our Instagram, on our Twitter at Edit to Real, or submit your questions to the email edittorealpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. We look forward to seeing you in the next one. Stay real, guys.
Stay real, guys.